Liverpool could spend another £200 million in the market this summer and still be PSR compliant. But the game isn't to see how much they can spend. The thesis remains that spending money wisely is the most important thing. A direct quote from Dave Powell of the Liverpool Echo. So, you mean to tell me that one of the best clubs at spending money wisely and turning that into trophies are now not only runaway champions, but also now in a position where spending over £300 million to improve an already winning squad is light work. 2025 is definitely the year of Liverpool. This is not good for anyone that is not this club. Dark days lie ahead. Hello, hope you're doing well. I'm Tinashe. Welcome back. Remember when Liverpool was a banter club? I remember those days. Those days were not that long ago, actually, when despite the historic nature of this club, they weren't really that big of a draw to the biggest prospects in world football. And now they've just gone ahead and signed the biggest available German talent and one of the biggest German talents over the last couple of, I don't even know how long, to sign with them over Bayern Munich and every other big club that was after them, while obliterating their own transfer record as well as the British transfer record. This is big. This is huge. This is massive. And I'm jealous, which is, I've just realized is actually a bit of a crazy sentence to say out loud with no context. Subscribe. Road to 400k. Liverpool are properly flexing their muscles. This is the behavior of a team that wants to stay at the top. And considering that they barely did anything in the market last year, this is worrisome. But I guess we probably shouldn't be all that surprised about the reported fees and the fact that Liverpool are willing to splash the cash, because they were willing to break the transfer record, both the British one and their own, a couple years ago with Moises Caicedo. I guess this is just the going rate for really top prospects. And if you're curious to know why I released a podcast episode the other day about the transfer market as a whole, its evolution and all that good stuff, it's links below. And how about this Arne Slot guy, huh? The dude's over here acting like he just walked into the biggest league in world football and dominated on his first attempt. Because I guess he did. FSG took one look at all that he achieved and everything that he did and basically said, my man, you got it. We're gonna back you. Except it's not exactly him that they're backing explicitly. It's the system, They've always done this thing, FSG, since around when Jurgen Klopp signed, where they bring managers and players in to fit the way the club sees themselves playing, as opposed to doing one or the other first, otherwise known as the Manchester United special. Bringing in a manager and then players for that manager and hoping that they gel together, and then they don't, you fire the manager and you're left with a bit of a dumpster fire. But this is not a Manchester United video. At the time of recording this video, Liverpool have already had £156 million in transfers confirmed. Florian Wirtz, Giorgio Mamadashvili and Jeremy Frimpong make up the bulk of this, with more to come from what it looks like. So how can they afford this? Well, the simple answer is that they've always been able to afford this. Like I said, with the almost record-breaking transfers a couple of years ago, they've just been really, really picky about how they've been spending money, and I guess they assessed before Arne Slot came in that the squad was good enough for him to come in and make some sort of an impact. Now, I doubt that they saw him winning the league as soon as he came in, but there just weren't that many great prospects on the market for them to go in and dip their toes and really strengthen the squad. And now, they have something to protect, so they have to. In 2023-24, they pulled in an estimated £613 million as a turnover, a year with Europa League and a 5th place finish, which was still a record-breaking year in terms of revenue. The expected revenue for 24-25 is over £700 million, which is of course another record. Add on to that a reported £300 million line of credit, and Liverpool are in a really strong position to basically do whatever the hell they want in this transfer window and going forward if things keep going the way they do. And that money will be paid off with what's to come and what has already been earned from this really successful season. All the brand deals are going up. All the commercial deals are going up. Their facility fees for the broadcasting arrangements for the Premier League will be going up for sure, as well as Champions League. You'd think that they're going to be able to make a deep run next year, but that's not something you can predict. On to Florian Wirtz, and going back to the notion that Liverpool have never really been afraid to splash the cash when they need to. They broke the record for signing a goalkeeper when they signed Alisson. They broke the record for signing a defender when they signed Virgil van Dijk. and now they've broken their own record and the British record for signing Florian Wirtz. Of course, the previous two were, I guess, backed by the sale of Philippe Coutinho, which brought in quite a lot of money for Liverpool. But I hope you get what I'm trying to say. It's been about a week now since the official announcement of Wirtz, but I'm still wrapping my head around the fact that Liverpool signed this man and not Bayern. I know that there have been several German prospects over the years that haven't ended up going to Bayern Munich. I'm thinking, Kai Havertz, Timo Werner when he was at RB Leipzig and really crushing it there. Don't let recency bias get in the way of how good he was back then. The fact that Florian Wirtz is going there, maybe I'm making too much of this, but it's astounding to me. And Liverpool really did their best to try and get him. And why wouldn't they? The first time I really properly took notice of Florian Wirtz was, I think, like most people, during the Invincible season for Bayer Leverkusen. With players like him, there usually are just mythical stories here and there about them in the youth academies that you'd hear, over the years about how this player is going to be so good and move up to X or Y or Z position later on. And I definitely heard those about Wirtz. For example, there's a clip that's been going around recently about when he was at Cologne and he scored an incredible halfway line goal. And then he suffered an ACL tear in 2022, which severely limited his playing time in the 22-23 season, just before the boom in 23-24. The year where Bayer Leverkusen decided that they're not going to hide the fact that they're masters of the dark arts and, probably made some sort of unscrupulous deal with some sort of shady demonic figure or something, but I'm not here to comment on any of that. It became customary that if Leverkusen were either a goal down or drawing a match by about the 70th, 75th minute, you had to turn on the TV because something was about to happen. Far more often than not, actually every time, because Leverkusen never lost a game, they would pull ahead or draw level. And when that happened, the traffic would usually go through Florian Wirtz and Piero Hincapié, who has also been linked to Liverpool, who actually wouldn't be that bad of a signing for them, but more on Liverpool's centre-back situation later on. Good for Leverkusen too. I mean, they are losing their star player, but they spent about £250,000 on him reportedly when he was 16, and now they've just gotten a very, very big bag for him. It's going to be very interesting to see how Wirtz fits into the whole Liverpool ecosystem, because when you sign a player like that for the amount of money that they've gone ahead and spent on him, you'd kind of expect him to be the centerpiece of the project. But that's not really how Liverpool roll, is it? The team very much, they share the load in a lot of ways. They don't have an out-and-out superstar that does everything for them or that all the play goes through. Mohamed Salah, he broke all sorts of records, but I think a lot of that was due to him just being in the right position, in the right place at the right time, and just using his wealth of experience to get those numbers up. What Wirtz will do for Liverpool undoubtedly is flourish in the really tight spaces that a club like Liverpool always has to navigate due to their stature, and he's a very hard worker too, so he just fits the profile for this club. It's going to be great for them. Along with Wirtz, Liverpool look like they've already all but replaced their fullbacks in Milos Kerkez and Jeremy Frimpong. Fullbacks, as most of us know, are notoriously amongst, if not the most difficult positions to replace just due to the specialization of the role. And especially when you're like Liverpool, where you had the best fullback pairing in the world for as long as they did. Not over the last season or two, but definitely for a very long stretch. Now, these players that are coming in, I don't think anybody expects them to be like for like in replacing the qualities that they're losing, but they're both supremely talented. I must admit, I haven't seen all that much of Kerkez, but I have seen quite a lot of Frimpong from watching, obviously, Wirtz and Leverkusen over the last 2-3 years, and he is fantastic. He is more on the attacking side. He was playing as a right wing back in Xabi Alonso's system at Leverkusen, and he had a lot of the protection from that back three for when he was caught out in defense. So I wonder how things are going to pan out for him as a pure right back at Liverpool, because I assume that Slot's going to keep on with that right backs, with the four at the back system. So with those positions wrapped up, what we're hearing are striker and centre back are high up on the priority list going forward for Liverpool. And one of the names that's popped up is Isak, which I honestly struggled to see happening. I see why he's been mentioned. He's only behind Mohamed Salah in terms of goals scored in the league last season. He is a fantastic striker and a supremely talented player, but I just don't think that Liverpool are going to be willing to break the transfer record again to sign this guy. And the wages they're going to have to pay him are also going to have to be astronomical, because I think he he's probably going to be offered a bigger contract for Newcastle right now. And let's not forget, they bought him only 3 years ago for about £63 million. And he is more than double, quality-wise, the player that he was back then. So it's going to be a tough ask. But if Liverpool do lose Darwin Núñez later on in the window, which seems quite likely at this current moment in time, we won't be hearing the last of this. Now, the centre-back position for Liverpool is quite an interesting talking point because they've just lost Jarell Kwanzaa, who's gone to Leverkusen in the opposite direction of Florian Wirtz and Jeremy Frimpong. This also does quite a lot to keep the working relationship between the clubs quite good and quite amicable for future transactions. And then they have Ibrahima Konate, who has apparently just refused to sign a new contract, and everyone thinks that there's going to be another Trent Alexander-Arnold situation where he runs it down and joins Real Madrid or PSG in the next year. So now they basically have Van Dijk, Konate, who might be gone, and Gomez. And with Van Dijk turning 34 in a couple of weeks, you'd think that getting multiple centre-backs is actually a bit of a priority. Mark Gahey has been the name that's been mentioned the most amongst all the prospective players that Liverpool could be going for right now. The Crystal Palace captain is incredible at a lot of things, and I believe he only has a year left on his contract. All I'm going to say is that, listen, I think it's probably pretty easy to figure out if he's on the move or not. Somebody just needs to bring up his Duolingo profile and see how many streaks he has for learning Scouse. And there we have it. I don't usually make these sort of videos on speculation and transfers and all that, usually on really confirmed transfers, but Liverpool are just having too fantastic of a window right now to not at least talk about it and milk a couple of videos out of the situation. So expect more when they make more signings. Might even make one of Manchester United if they actually decide to sign Mbeumo. We'll see how that works out. And that's all for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you're having a great day. Cheers, and I will catch you in the next one.